Hello and welcome to the Iron Maiden. My name is Abigail and I'll teach you today how to overwhelm Nu. This is a much requested matchup because it is extremely difficult. That doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad matchup, but if you play it wrong, then luck will not go your way. I'll explain more later. Here we go. First thing you have to figure out is, are they CYB or standard? So if they are playing Count Your Blessings, they're going to be gaining life, they're going to be trying to fatigue you. If they're not, they're probably going to be trying to kill you or disrupt you. So first, always play assuming that they are CYB when you're going into the matchup. And even if you don't see a CYB on the first few turns, you need to continue to assume that they will be playing them until maybe turn 4 or 5 when you've seen a fair chunk of the deck, because sometimes those CYBs just stuck near the bottom, and then they can really get you because you might overextend into them. Once you know that they are or are not playing CYB, you know how much to respect their attacks. This is especially important of things like Bonds of Agony with 2 cards left in hand. If they have a Venomous Bite, they might be able to go above and beyond using their armor and their Venomous Bite. But if they have a Count Your Blessings, they're just tricking you into blocking and then they're just going to gain the life. So it gives them more options, but also less consistency at each option. And then number 3, try to be lower life as much as possible without killing yourself. You need to be lower life because we're going to play Reaping Blade into this deck. And when you are lower, they can't gain life. They're lower than you can't gain life. It doesn't matter. Happens very infrequently. Even against a normal Nu, they have cards like Persuasive Prognosis, which will try and gain them life. So it's important to try and be lower than them. But if you go to below 10, you can expect them to keep a strong Bonds hand and kill you. So you have to also be careful. Here's my blocking Nu flowchart. Not much of a flowchart. So they attack with several cards in hand. They could have CYB. They can go Chi and then mask you to make you banish a card. They can go again and then attack with a second disruptive attack. Or they can play a big buff. So if they have, say, 2 cards in hand, like we had for the example before, they can have Count Your Blessings and a blue, and they've attacked you with a stealth card. If they have a Chi in hand, they can mask you as long as they're attacking with a blue. If they're attacking with a red stealth card, then they can't mask you unless they play double Chi, which means they'll also kind of be wasting one of them a little bit. So that's an interesting thing to think about. But often they're attacking with a blue, of course. They can go again, especially with stilettos when they're playing them. Sometimes stilettos get swapped out for Arcane Barrier, but it is very strong, so a lot of Nus also keep it in. They have other ways of giving go again, but that's the most powerful. And they have big buff. Put Venomous Bite here because it's an example of a card that Count Your Blessings decks don't usually play. So once you see multiple Venomous Bites, you know they're probably not on Count Your Blessings and they're on a big buff style of deck. So you may notice that 3 of these affect your blocking in an interesting way, which is that you get punished for overblocking. So if you overblock the Bonds of Agony with 3 cards, and they gain life, or they make you manage for the last one, or they go again and attack again, then you've wasted a lot. Whereas if they big buff you, then you're going to lose what remains of your hand, or and also take a lot of damage. But I've split them down the middle in aggressive and not aggressive. So Count Your Blessings and Mask take away your ability to kill Nu, whereas Go Again and Big Buff try and kill you as well as disrupt. So you can think about Nu in the disruption sense, but you also have to remember that she has to try and kill you. So blocking and not taking damage is pretty good. Here's that checklist. First, you need to be flexible and figure out what you can do with several cards, with 1 card, with all 5 cards, you need to know how to use each amount of hand size, because they will sometimes take cards you have to block and then take another one. So you better be flexible. Step 2, use your extra arsenal zone. So by that I mean your banish zone to keep cards, but try not to have too many of your own choosing, because new will give you so many. When you draw those 4 attack hands, those are usually fine because you would block with 3, still attack with 1. Or if you're playing against a fatigue deck, maybe you block with 1 or you block with 2 or 3, and then arsenal and banish and pass. But against new, when you block with those, they get banished, especially if it's a stealth card, which it often is. So you need to be careful about not getting too much blood debt, because they will give you a lot. Thirdly, abuse creepers to break the game for big turns. We use creepers and revel, like on the right hand side, to do double, triple, quadruple rune gates. If you don't use creepers in the new game, you're very unlikely to have won that game. And then step number 4, get a bit lucky. There's 2 ways to get lucky against new. One is that they do not draw a good enough hand to bonds you, or their disruption is only mediocre. Then there's also you getting lucky, where you can draw several non-attacks, enough rune chance, have a few banish cards. Maybe they banish blood debt off the top, maybe they don't. Depends on your situation. But sometimes you need a bit of luck in this matchup. But this is why I say that this matchup is hard, but not necessarily bad. If you get very good at this matchup, you can turn the luck tables towards you. You can sort of bend it at you, but you can still always lose to them having a very strong bonds hand, or you drawing a little bit poorly in the mid game or late game. So you can definitely make this a 50-50 or favored matchup into a lot of new, but you have to know that sometimes you just will get unlucky. So let's check out these videos. First, I've got 2 new videos today. The first one is going to be a new in which I lose. So I think this is important against new to show how quickly it can happen. So that's my sideboard. We get in, see Oblivion in my first hand. This is pretty good. I can set up Malefic. I can Arsenal, Revel, or Oblivion. I choose to Arsenal Revel. We know they count their blessings. Because it's easier to get back out, whereas Oblivion can get stuck. So on this hand, it's a little bit awkward of a hand. I'm looking to probably block with everything but Oblivion, which is annoying. But then I'll banish Oblivion, so then I'm trying to block with everything except Oblivion and Deathly Light in this case. Extremely awful. So, thinking. I block with Tunic so that they can't Arousing Wave, because of that +1, obviously. Banish Deathly Light, pass. So next turn I'm looking at probably cracking Cool Hand, getting Oblivion on, and then they draw Bonds of Agony. Okay, this can still be a very mediocre monster. I can block with 2 cards, they Chi, they banish, which means I will also have to banish Oblivion, so that plan's gone. And look, this game is close to over at this point, because they then Justinic and Arousing Wave. So now not only are they hitting me for 4 damage, they're banishing 6 cards with blood debt, as well as the one I had. So I've got 7 blood debt, if I remember correctly. And next turn, I will just send a mediocre attack and pass. It's just so quickly over. This is what I mean by sometimes new just draw really strongly, sometimes you draw a little bit awkwardly, and I felt this game was done for, so I decided to concede. But let's see a good new matchup. One that, well, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I do want to show you games where I win. So I get my new matchup. Here it is. The most important thing to remember is to take out the blue attacks. Taking out cards is easy to remember. Taking out cards is easy to forget. Putting in cards is easy to remember. So they've got the exact same setup as the last new. My hand is fine. I'm going second. If I were to go first, it would just be Banish, Cull, play Funeral Moon, Arsenal, Rune Chant, keep the Cull. In this case, I wish I could block with this Reduce to make a Rune Chant, but instead I'm just going to block with my 2/3 blocks. This hand probably isn't going to Rune Gate on my turn 1, but that's okay, because I want to Banish and Arsenal my Reduce anyway. So as I predicted, Deathly Whale, very strong. Last turn, fine by me. This is going to be a slow-ish matchup anyway. We see Malefic, we see we've still got the Beseech. So we're trying to block with one card and the Revel. Then try and play the rest of them out. We also have Face Purgatory very easily with this hand, when it does a lot of thinking. So they're attacking with a Our Desire Body. Don't really care if they draw a card that much. When they banish a card, that's fine, but I kind of doubt they have another good attack other than probably a CNC, because they've got that 2 floating. They draw a card because they banish a red. I should have blocked with Widespread Destruction. That's a mistake. Easy to forget that card does that in only new, whereas I play some other assassins, which it doesn't do that in those cards because I know it's good. I get punished with the Codex, unfortunately, which means, well, luckily I don't have any attacks. That's right. If I had an attack, that would have been really atrocious, but I get lucky and don't have one. All they can do is send their CNC at me. I don't care. I want to banish, play Malefic, pay 1 life, attack. So I can choose here to take their arsenal from them, or make 2 Rune Chants, basically. I could also choose to send 10 vanilla, which could have its benefits. Since I have Malefic, I decide to go for Widespread and Arsenal Beseech. That way, when I draw a go again, I can pay 1 life and get Deathly Whale into something else, maybe into something else. Turns out they have Count Your Blessings in their arsenal, which they play. Let me show that again. Which they play even though they're on higher life than me. Which means, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they don't actually get to gain anything. They play it, they're higher than me, they gain nothing, but they want it in their graveyard, not in their banish. Is that the right decision? Don't really know. We draw a really, really strong hand, so we can pay 1 life to make the Arcane go through, so Succumb to Temptation is on. We could consider arsenaling Beseech, but I think it's much more powerful in this case to play both. We want big turns. So on little turns, I'll arsenal. On big turns, I spend everything. So we send a bunch of damage. We get to succumb them. So if they block out, that's fine, they block out. If they don't, we get to basically take a blocking card away from them, free damage, and destroy their next turn. And of course, we get Revel into another Rune Gate attack. They Count Your Blessings, they're still higher than us. They can't have... They could have waited and responded to the Succumb trigger, so they made a mistake there. And a lot more damage. Notably, didn't play Deathly Whale, even though it would create 2 Rune Chants for next turn. It also wouldn't matter because the Revel in Rune Blood destroys all of your Rune Chants. So this is going to be another setup turn. Banish, Malefic, Arsenal, Founding, because it costs 0, so it's easy to get out. And if they banish it from Arsenal, it's pretty good to keep him banished. This is a really awkward hand for a Bonds. I wish I had a non-attack to go with my face Purgatory here, but I can do something interesting. With this Invert Existence, if they get a Bonds trigger, I can move my cards around to get out of having to banish a particular card. So, for example, I don't want to banish Phantom Wraith because I know I have 2 more copies in my deck somewhere. So I would love to manipulate it so that I get the ones I want. Sorry, I think I do want Phantom Wraith. I get their 2 Count Your Blessings because I just want them to gain less life. Could do 2 arcane damage here. Think Count Your Blessings is probably better. That is why I play Invert Existence into this matchup. And the fact that they can banish it off the top, and it's pretty good. Banish, and then they also Bonds. So in this case, they pretty much did all of the flowchart. They have Goaken, they have Bonds big-ish, they have not gain life yet, but they get to do a little bit of everything, which is pretty strong. Luckily, I can abuse my big life lead to take a lot of damage here, including this next 4. Banish Demagon, which is fine because, like I said, I put it there kind of expecting it to be banished. Still much above them, but at the end of my turn, I'm taking lots of damage. Cracking Quill Hand here, just so I can take some cards away from them. If I don't take cards away from them this turn, and they come back with another Bonds, it'd be in, like, basically I would be dead at that point. I will be taking 7 here. I decide I could set up, but instead it would be better to attack them in this case, and it's worth my Quill Hand as long as I draw some non-attacks next turn. If at this point I draw several attack actions, could be in a lot of trouble. They block, so their hand wasn't going to do anything anyway, seemingly. Arsenal, this is an insanely powerful hand. So I have a card to banish, I have 2 Shadow Puppetries for Go Again, I have Tunic for Creepers for Revel. So this hand is a, quad Rune Gate. Okay, 1 life. I can then play my Funeral Moon. Because I have paid life, I can play it as an instant. This gets me to enough rune chance to play Deathly Whale, which is good because Deathly Whale starts my chain. I want to play it here instead of later because of this Malefic. Because I'm going to have a 3rd rune chant from 2 from Whale, 1 from Malefic. I can play another Deathly Whale, also with Go Again, also which makes 2 more rune chants. This is very clearly the end of the game. There is absolutely nothing they could have here that stops me. I drew a good hand at the end of the game and played to my outs. I didn't get to use my face Purgatory, which is fine. The card's really strong, but I didn't draw the right hand for it. And they're pretty, they're dead. I'll give it away. So you can see this matchup, if we go back and think about how I played it. I tried to keep a little bit of a back and forth pace, so I didn't let them have complete hands often. I tried not to set up too heavily because that will actually just get you killed when you just set up. Unlike something like a Guardian, you're usually okay. I tried to disrupt them so I could set up my bigger turns, and I got hit with the Bonds. I got hit with 1 strong Bonds and a few other powerful turns, but it's all good. Right, let's close this one down. Play, please. Okay. That's the end of our video today. I know New can be a frustrating matchup, but if you keep thinking like they do and you keep working on it, it can be a not terrible matchup, probably a 50-50 to be honest. And that's pretty good. Vanu, one of the strongest decks. Alright, so thanks for watching. We have two comics. Oh, I have two comics, Anointed in Shadow and Bloodstained Web. Bloodstained Web is fairly new still, but check it out if you like Arachne or if you like Assassinations. You can find me on Twitter at the Iron Maiden YT. I don't post there much, but you can follow me if you want. Or you can check out other Vynnset videos on this channel. I have ones for fatigue matchups, one for aggro matchups, and a deck list, as well as some older ones which are not as useful. Alright, be good friends.